What's up everybody? Glad you could join me on this video where I'm gonna summarize my 2020 travel statistics. So let's get to it. Alright, so at the tail end of every year, usually in around the January time period, which is right now, Jan 2021, Google summarizes your entire travel timeline if you've set your privacy settings accordingly. So I do that because I travel almost 90% time of the year, and 2020 was no different. I was very fortunate to be able to travel to a lot of different destinations, and I just want to preface this video by saying it's not a travel or a lifestyle flex that I'm trying to do here. 100% of my revenue, my income, my business is travel production, and it has been since way before YouTube. And we've been producing this sort of content, exclusively travel content, since 2005. So I have to keep traveling in order to make a living. So 2020 was no different. We had to navigate a whole new set of challenges. So this should give you a little bit of an insight of how we actually made it through the crazy 2020 year, and some stats to boot. So right off the bat, Google lists 11 countries, and I just want to say 4 of them were actually new. The remainder 7 were actually just transitional stopping points. So, but Google keeps track of all the countries you've transited through. So 4 new for my personal itinerary out of the 11 I've been to this year. 105 cities, 11 countries. That's not bad for 2020. I'll go through some of the other stats. Apparently I've only walked 39 miles, which is not like the most accurate, because whenever I do go for a walk, I usually don't take my phones, or 80% of the day when I'm walking around the house, I'm not carrying my phone with me. So that's a little bit driving, 12,964 miles done in 564 hours, which means, let's see, a quick calculation, that's about 23 days sitting in a car. That's almost a month sat in a car. And yeah, that's a huge chunk of your year sitting in a car. Flying, 51,304 miles, and it comes down to 134 hours. 134 hours is 5.5 days sat in an airplane, which is not so bad, but the driving one is what really gets me. A lot of people think you're flying to all these destinations, that's where you spend most of the time. An airplane? No, it's cars. Because when we shoot a show like Road Less Traveled, we are always in transit. The entire country is what we're gonna explore. So cars, bikes, scooters, buses, you're always in motion. So cars add up. In my instance, in my case, 564 hours, that's insane. This one is relatively interesting. Google also is able to break down if you spend time in a motorcycle, and how they know that, I believe they can distinguish whether you're on a car or a bike or a train based on the gyroscope, your phone internal gyroscope, that on a motorcycle you're usually leaning to take turns and things like that. So Google is able to decipher when you are actually on a motorcycle doing a trip. So it's broken down motorcycling, which is a big time hobby of mine, in 1,147 miles or 58 hours for all of 2020. That's not so bad. It's showing a lot of summertime. So there's a big, I'll overlay this graphics. January is a big bar graph there for January, which is when I actually did a motorcycle trip from the north of Vietnam, Hanoi, to all the way down south, Ho Chi Minh. So it has a big blip in January. And then March, April, May, June, which is summertime in California, I definitely do a lot of motorcycle riding then, track days, things like that. So it kind of, most of the time spent is in summertime. But it's cool that it logged my journey in Vietnam. So anyway, now I will walk you through some of these places that I've actually been to this year. So January, we started off in December 2019. We did that motorcycle trip from Hanoi to Ho Chi Minh. Took about a week and a half, and that was for the show Road Less Traveled. Right after Vietnam, we hopped on a flight to Bali, where we did the second episode of Road Less Traveled, and that was truly an amazing episode. So we're wrapped up with Bali, and then we decide to go to Jakarta, and around that time is when coronavirus was declared a pandemic. So we decided to take a quick break, feel it out, see what happens with this pandemic. So I fly back to San Francisco, and the day after is when it's declared a worldwide pandemic. So we're grounded. Most of Feb, I'm chilling back, having completed shoots in Vietnam, Bali, feeling pretty good, but had no idea to what extent, what scale this whole coronavirus pandemic was going to go up to. And around March, I decided to try and go to the Philippines for a quick vacation. And nobody in the US was taking it super serious, so neither was I. So I do end up going to Philippines, and that's when Philippines itself enacted one of the harshest lockdowns. So it was get the hell out of Dodge time. So tail between my legs, I made it back to San Francisco, but that journey was insane because I was actually in Palawan, which is an island in the Philippines, and you have to take a 2-hour flight from Manila to get there. I get to Palawan, I'm driving through the island, and I get word that Philippines is gonna go into a complete lockdown in the next 24 hours. So I stopped driving in where I was, completely beachside area in the Palawan Islands, and I bust out my laptop. I book a ticket to go back to Manila from Palawan the very next morning, the first flight out. And I spent maybe $50 for my ticket, which is a great deal. And so I continued driving to my final destination, Port Barton in Palawan, spend the night there, wake up early, get back, and the airport, I actually took the flight, but the airport was chaos. And you can imagine why. All the tourists, all the travelers, they were just trying to get the hell out, and they couldn't because flights were booked and prices scaled up insane. So I got back to Manila, and that's when the whole notion that there is an actual serious pandemic that nations around the world are going to be struggling to deal with. And so then my MO was just, I was thinking about getting back home, but I also thought, it would be kind of cool to feel it out, just see what happens, maybe spend a month or something in the Philippines under lockdown. So I was starting to prepare to live in Manila, in BGC for a little bit, but then some business came through, and I also saw this news alert from the US State Department saying that American citizens should make it back home to the US if they can, because there's no telling when the US will go into an actual lockdown. So, which actually never really happened, but I saw that email and I was like, all right, I'm gonna make it back home. So I go back home around mid-March, and I'm pretty much stuck home and going a little stir crazy because my normal routine is come back home for a few weeks, make plans for our shoots, and then head back out, shoot for maybe a month, and then come back home to California for a few weeks, and then back and forth. So by March, April, I'm just chilling, and then my strategy was basically try to go make shoots happen to destinations where we are allowed as Americans. So the first destination that I came up with for this was the US Virgin Islands. My thought process was, it's still a part of the United States, and they were following protocols, but it seemed like, you know, you're not in a foreign place like Belize or Panama or something like that, where it could be a little difficult to head back home in case they go into a lockdown. US Virgin Islands, you're still in the US territories, and I just made a shoot happen for Maximum Foodie.
With my trusty 4x4, I'll come across the island's haunted past, hidden relics of time in the lush paradise setting. I'll sip on daiquiris at 10 a.m. and launch onto a drinking expedition.
This'll definitely do the job, man. So that was a great shoot for Maximum Foodie in the USVI, and that really got the ball rolling in terms of accessing locations where Americans are allowed, where I can make my shoots happen. The next destination was French Polynesia.
I'm going to explore the Polynesian way of life and get my hands dirty, from fishing with the locals,
Yellowfin, woo!
Dining with the locals, bouncing around foodie joints with the locals.
Have you ever had anything like this before?
Noodles in a baguette? Oh, no.
And also getting a taste of the high life in probably one of the most sought after luxury destinations in the world, Bora Bora.
It was a fantastic shoot in French Polynesia. The tourism count was really low, so it was a great way to explore the islands without the hordes of cruise ships coming in. After that, I decided to go to Dubai.
So strap yourselves in. I'm gonna hit the lounges, get way up in the air, and step into the Arabian desert in search of a special meal. This is Maximum Foodie in Dubai, layover style. 24 hours, the countdown begins.
Back with a great episode in Dubai, and it was actually my first time where I spent a significant amount of time exploring Dubai. Normally I just transit through DXB airport, never actually stepping in the city. So for this episode I did both, and yeah, it was fantastic. So this is where it really ramps up, and this was like such a great way to show a middle finger to 2020. For me personally, I basically tried to make a shoot happen in Maldives right after Dubai, so it was a back-to-back Maximum Foodie shoot. And what an itinerary I had. This was in December, I'm in the Maldives. I have 4 of the best 5-star luxury resorts in Maldives invite me for Maximum Foodie. And I'll just let you soak in this amazing footage. So yeah, that was my 2020 in a nutshell. It started off with a bang in January or December, January cusp. We were doing that road trip in Vietnam, doing season 5 of Road Less Traveled, feeling unstoppable. This year's gonna be great, and then the whole world felt it. It's no different for me. But I feel like I was able to navigate all the hurdles, all the challenges of 2020 pandemic, COVID era travel. Yeah, it's been quite a journey. A lot of money spent on coronavirus tests. I think I've calculated easily over $1,300 worth just spent on coronavirus testing. So anyway, that was my 2020 in a nutshell. Hope you guys enjoyed the stats. If you have any questions, feel free to write them on the comments, and I'll be sure to get back to you. Cheers, thanks for watching.